All right, so when I ask a question in week one last week, I asked you, I said, hey, which one do you think's better, or which one do you think's going to be around longer, Linux or Windows? All right, I'm going to answer that from the perspective of somebody that's been in the computer industry for 30 years. I can remember when Linux first got strong in the marketplace. Okay, it came out in the 70s, but it got strong in the marketplace. It started to hit the marketplace for the average user in the mid 90s. I can remember the first time I loaded up a version called or distro called Slackware. Okay, I think Slackware is still out there, and there's some other versions that have mutated from it. But Slackware was very difficult to use. You actually, when I got it, I actually got it from CompUSA. I went in, I think I paid 20, $30 for it. It was like 4 CDs at the time. I don't even think DVDs were around at that point in time, so it was like 4 CDs. You couldn't download it from online because it was way too much stuff. Took it home. There was no books. There was no YouTube. I don't think that Google existed back then in the 90s. I'd have to go back and look and see. I don't really remember it being around, and I don't think Yahoo was really around back then either. And that's back when the HTML we used was like HTML 1.2 or 2.1, something really primitive. So the whole industry changed a lot after that point in time. But Slackware was very cumbersome, and it was difficult to use. There was no discussion boards, no anything on it. So I basically took it and threw it aside. Now, since then, what's happened is with virtual machines and things like that, and then of course Microsoft continuing to plug along, is people have had more exposure, especially with YouTube and VirtualBox. It's really helped out the whole Linux community. So now what we have is a lot more information out there. So we got people that are getting started. Plus, there's actually in grade school, middle school, and high school, there's actually Linux courses now, which is good. I can remember the only computer that we had in schools 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago was, at first it was Apple. All right. Most schools had two Apples, and that's because Jobs and Wozniak, they both wanted computers in the schools. So they donated them. The Apple Corporation did. They actually donated two to each library in a lot of different schools. So that was kind of cool. But that's what you had to work on. Since then, of course, the schools have gotten grants from the NSF and the government and stuff, and they've put in Microsoft machines. But that's what's actually hurting the Linux community is most of these schools, they get grants and people are forced to use a Microsoft operating system. But that's where Mr. Gates was very, very smart. He knew that this type of thing would happen, so he knew that if he basically gave his program away for pennies on the dollar to the schools, that people would get trained and get familiar with using his operating system, and then businesses would be forced to pay a premium for the licensing because people were experiencing using Windows. Now what you're seeing is because people are having a lot of problems with Windows, and it's due to the bloating of the operating system and everything that's going on. There's a lot of security problems, so you're actually seeing the Microsoft market share go down, and you're seeing the Linux market share go up. And how what Linux is doing is through the different community bulletin board systems and YouTube and sharing resources and sharing books online and places like lynda.com giving you training on these things, and again YouTube giving you training on these things. People are getting more familiar with it, and they find out that Linux is actually a better operating system. Okay, so this is what I think is going to happen over time. You're going to see Microsoft falling off, and I can actually show you that. You can go to netcraft.com, 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 and you can see over time how Linux has gone up in being favorable, and you can see where Microsoft is going down. Now, what's the time frame on that, Tim? Hey, it's not going to happen overnight, okay? I'm talking 10, 20 years out. So maybe in 20 years we can get together and have a beer and we can sit down and discuss if I was right or not. I think that I'm really confident that you're going to see a sharp decrease in Microsoft and a nice gain in Linux. So let's hang around there and see what happens. Good luck to you, and keep up the good work. Thanks.